grab your big book, your pen, your highlighter, and notepad and get ready to hear and apply some of the solution from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous through the experience, strength, and hope of Nikki M. To have a question addressed in a future episode of Noodle It Out with Nikki, please send an email to noodlewithnikki@gmail.com, and Nikki is spelled with 2 Ks. To get a more interactive experience with Nikki as she noodles out life and recovery questions using the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, you can get a link to her weekly Noodle It Out with Nikki meeting held live on Zoom every Monday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The information to that meeting is in the show notes of this podcast. God morning, God afternoon, and God evening to all. My name is Justin B. I'm a son of an all-powerful and all-loving God and a qualifying addict of multiple fellowships living in the miracle of recovery. And I'm here with the intelligent agent, spearhead of God's ever-advancing creation, and my co-host, Nikki M. Both of us are back off of, some time away, some vacation, some time with loved ones. Nikki, please take a minute and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki M., and I'm a grateful member of many, many fellowships. And I'm really a proud member of RICO 12 and just all the resources, Justin B., that you provide for us. And I'm just grateful. I was on a little surprise trip to Istanbul. So to our brothers and sisters over in that region of the world, thank you, thank you, thank you for your hospitality, your love, and your inspiration. The call to prayer a couple times a day in that city just reminded me to pause and to always keep my mind and thought life on this way of living. Thanks, Justin.
Love it. And I wasn't in it as an exotic place as Istanbul. I was in Oklahoma City and just had a good time supporting family in some really cool events that my niece was participating in. So just grateful to be back. And while I didn't have the call to prayer happening, I had plenty of opportunities to practice the pause when agitated. So it's good to be back together and jump back into this Noodle It Out with Nikki. And as anybody who's listened to this before knows, this is part of the RICO 12 family of recovery resources. We've got several other podcasts and things that social network platforms and stuff like that really are there for tools to help us connect with the power that is greater than us. All right, let's jump into this project, which is Noodle It Out with Nikki M. It's an exercise and deep dive into finding solutions to questions, issues, and things we encounter in everyday life in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We've got a couple of questions, one that came to us through the email, and if you've got a question for us, email it to us at noodlewithnikki@gmail.com, and Nikki has 2 Ks in it, and we will address that question in a future Noodle It Out with Nikki podcast. So this one comes with a little bit of a qualifying story, so I'm going to go ahead and read that, and then we will get into the questions here, Nikki. This person who wishes to remain anonymous says, I belong to Primary Purpose Group, OA, and Al-Anon, and we feel that bulimia is not a straight path to recovery, not unlike SLA or maybe some other fellowships that process, I think, fellowships. Sometimes people are slipping back into binging and purging for years before they finally get it. We have found getting them through the steps quickly and starting with sponsorship has been helpful to gain improvement in abstinence while still having some slipping back into binging and purging when life gets too hard. I myself took years to recover. I just could not figure out how to work the steps effectively to not binge for relief. I kept finding life too hard. But now I finally got the miracle. But I've been sponsoring for a few years, and I was having slips every week, then 2 weeks, then became less and less as time went by, and I was able to find more balance in my life. It's been 2 or 3 months since God totally relieved me of this. How do I guide sponsees who are the same as I was, who feel so sensitive and have dual mental health diagnoses, and they feel it's impossible for them not to use food to get through a stressful time? And then the main questions here is, what does the Big Book say about sponsoring if you're slipping and sliding in relapse? There's the first main question. And the second question is, what about putting yourself out there to sponsor after you've just relapsed and now you're back for day one? So, Nikki, what does the book say about this? What are your thoughts and interpretations of what the book says here?
Wow. That's all I can say. Wow. So that's a lot. And I get a lot of these messages on my WhatsApp daily. And I'm hoping, number one, I keep my eye on Justin, but if my internet's weird, I'm on my home internet. If it goes to 5G, let me know. But here, let me just start with some of the notes. Everybody, we work out of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, fourth edition. And I don't care what affliction or addiction you have. You said you come from the primary purpose, and I know they have a certain way of working the steps. I'm not familiar with what they do. I'm a member of the Big Book sponsorship group, and we have a condensed workbook. All this is in the show notes, of course. Justin has it in there. And we use a workbook. It's all extrapolated from the Big Book, a condensed version. And in the top paragraph on page 3 of my workbook, which is, again, all of it's taken out of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, we say this 12-step workbook guide substitute terms and phrases related to alcoholism to include any, see, it includes any acting out or obsessive compulsive addiction patterns, such as drugs and alcohol. You know, our friend David G says they talk about these things in the book. So if you're in a room and they go, we don't talk about drugs here, it's in the book. Get familiar with the book. They say, well, we don't talk about these things here, Nikki. This is for AA or OA only. Page 42 of my big book says, the spiritual principles will solve all my problems. You know, so sugar, food, Al-Anon, you said, codependency, emotions, hoarding, cluttering, gambling, you know, anorexia, bulimia, overworking, all of it. Sex, love, fantasy, codependency, it's everything. This is the disease of alcoholism. Whether or not you're drinking, or if you, like our friend Justin B, have never had a drink. So that's number one, page 42. I don't care if you're an OA, Al-Anon. It will solve all our problems. And if you turn your book a little forward to page 45, because you asked this, I can't figure out how to work the steps, or how do you work the steps? Well, the big book is designed to show you. It says that's what this book is about. Its main object is to enable you, person who's sponsoring, to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problems. That's what it means. We have written a book. This book will teach you how to work the steps. And we have a podcast, Justin and myself and David G, where we go line by line, instructing people how we share this message. So you said the straight path. This is all in just the commentary. I'm going to get to the question in a second, Justin. Straight path is this, page 53. God is everything or God is nothing. This is the straight, undiluted, big book message to solve all your problems. I heard you talk about, friend, relapse, page 60. We are not saints. We grow along spiritual lines. Justin and I just reconvened. We were both away. And yes, ask anybody not from Oklahoma or from America. Oklahoma is an exotic place. I want to go, sir. So I love David G's accent. I need to get down there and see what they do down there. Long story short, you and I talked about, how are you, Justin? How are you, Nikki? We just said the sugar, the food, whatever we've been doing the last couple of days off our routine, right? Does that mean that we can't go out and sponsor immediately? Well, that's not what my book says. So again, we're not saints. And page 84, this is not an overnight matter. So that's why we stay in the rooms. It has to continue for our lifetime, because the big book says we will make mistakes, says page 117. I want to go there. Let me open my book to that, Justin, because it's all over here. It says, but all problems won't be solved at once. A seed, which is a baby mustard seed, has started to sprout. There will be ups and downs. Your old problems will still be with you. This is as it should be. See, the faith and sincerity of you and your sponsor. I don't have a husband, neither does Justin. He has a wife, but we're talking about being in a fellowship right now together. So both myself and and Justin and you, friend who wrote in, we're going to be put to the test. Justin and I were just put to the test. Nikki, are you going to go for all that dessert last night at your friend's full moon party? Yeah, I did. And I didn't sleep well. I made a mistake, but I'm earnest. Justin, you said today you're going to be careful, so it's not going to drag us down because we're going to capitalize on it and a better way of life will emerge. So it's all in the book. And then you said dual mental health. I want to park it here for a moment. Dual mental health. My book says you're beyond human aid, which means we're not talking about mental health. We're talking about a spiritual illness that only a spiritual solution will conquer. Not what that says. I've got to find the page for that one, Justin. But we're not talking about mental health, because if you're talking about mental health, this is not the podcast. You need to book an appointment with your psychologist or your therapist. We're here because we're all beyond human aid. So I'm going to ask that person to turn to page 133, where it says, doesn't talk about dual mental health. It talks about a spiritual mode of living is the most powerful health restorative. That's what it says. It says a spiritual mode of living. Are you really living a spiritual mode? Because I can tell, I don't even have to ask Justin. I'm going to answer it for him, because I can tell you right now I wasn't, or I wouldn't have behaved like that last night with all my friends. I would have been in spirit mode. Instead, I got into my human mode. Like, this is radical. We entered a spirit world. The spirit life is not a theory. Live it. So Justin and I aren't going to run to our doctors in this moment. We got to get into the spirit world and make a decision that God is everything or God is nothing. The straight path, page 53. So to the question, and then I want you to unmute and get in here, Justin, which is, can you sponsor after relapse? Well, friends, I love this question, because recently I had a little emotional blackout, meaning I lost my mind with the man I love. And I was talking about it. And a woman I'm in a meeting with said, Nikki, you're not spiritually fit. You've emotionally relapsed, and I don't want you chairing this meeting tonight. Well, I wasn't going to argue or retaliate. So I said, cool. That gave me a night home, night off. But here's the reality. She's wrong, because it says right here, I soon found page 15 of your big book. That's Bill W., the broker. That's Nikki. I soon found that when all other measures failed, work with another addict would save the day. It doesn't say go back to rehab. They tried to make me go to rehab. I saw that movie on the plane ride. I watch all my movies on the plane ride. Okay, rehab's not going to work. It didn't work for Amy Winehouse. It certainly is not going to work for Nikki M. I also watched the Whitney Houston documentary. Didn't work for Whitney. See, I'm beyond human aid. So it says right here, when all other measures fail, can you immediately sponsor? I was angry or blacked out in emotion, whatever, but I was able to chair a meeting. Why? Because here it is. I wasn't jittery or befogged in that moment. Does that make sense, Justin? Like, I wasn't jittery or befogged, because it clearly says, let me find in my big book what page it is on. It says it's on XXVIXX, is in the doctor's opinion there. We favor hospitalization, detox. What does that look like for Justin and I after eating a little too much sugar? Should I have missed my meeting this morning? And I said to my sponsor right after she called me, because we have the noodle meeting right before we do the podcast, Justin. I said, wow, I'm still crazy from I still got food stuck in my throat. I need some hot water and tea. And she said, Nikki, today was fire. I think I had the desperation again, right? It was a little dark for me. So I got to reach for the light even more. I got to wake my spirit up to really follow these instructions, or I'm going to stay jittery and befogged, right? And it says it's imperative that my brain be cleared before we make an approach or before we're approached, right? I'm pretty clear. Does that make sense, Justin? Because remember, this is cunning. That's page 58, 59. Cunning. We deal with alcoholism. We deal with addiction. Cunning, baffling, all powerful, without help. And what's the help? So this person's just relapsed on a binge of food. Take a day off, get your system settled. You've just gone out on a binge. You need a day or two to be clear from your alcoholic mind. Maybe you've gone on to a fentanyl binge. You need maybe even 72 hours. But immediately it says, helping others, page 97, is the foundation stone of your recovery. See, that's the foundation stone, helping others. Throwing myself harder into helping other people, says page 70. It doesn't say run back to a human aid and talk about my sensitivity, because page 125 says addicts are sensitive people. It takes a long time to outgrow the serious handicap. So back to page 15, we soon found that when all other measures fail, every human aid, only work with another addict would save my day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you for going through that, Nikki. And I love how you went through that and broke that down. I come from a little bit of a different perspective on this, although it's very similar. Um, I love, and I should have looked up where these pages were. A design for living that works in rough going. This person who sent this in said, "Hey, when life is too hard, I have to binge. That I don't have or I had to. I couldn't figure out how to do that without seeking that relief when life was too hard." Well, this program is a design for living in rough going when life gets too hard, and life does get too hard. It is to do it on my own. But when I'm turning to that power greater than myself, that power can provide me the relief I need if I choose to accept it, even when life is too hard. The next thought I have is on page 164. Obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got, and so right now, my two primary addictions that I can identify as in my life are a sex addiction and a food addiction. I am absolutely not sober with my food right now. I've been a mess. And I would have a hard time sponsoring somebody about food addiction. I wouldn't about sex addiction. I'm sober there, and I wouldn't struggle sponsoring somebody through the steps in identifying and connecting to the power, you know. But if it's a food specific thing, I would probably say, you know what, I need to step back here. If this is what you need, is somebody who has who has what you want, because right now I don't with food. I don't have what I want with food. So, anyways, what are your thoughts as I share those couple of things with you, Nikki?
That I'm obsessed with finding it works in rough going. I thought it was page 28, but it's not. That's just a design for living. My thoughts are this, and stay unmuted here, sir. How are you going to be sober in your food addiction if you don't sponsor? Make it make sense right now. How are you going to, if now, here, go deeper. If the only answer is work with another addict will save the day, how are you going to be sober in your food addiction if you don't sponsor?
No, that's a great question, and I don't know. Maybe this is just me interpreting things a little bit, differently. But working with another addict can also mean reaching out and just having a conversation with them. It could be serving in a meeting. It could be doing a lot of different things. Because, well, as I know and as you know, when when a sponsee, a prospect, a somebody who's dying in the disease reaches out to me, they're helping me every bit as much as I'm helping them. So I think that's one way that I can work with another addict and it saves the day, is not necessarily me sponsoring them, but me reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm dying. What's your experience, strength, and
Okay.
hope?"
Let me
Yeah.
ask you this question. Don't
Yeah.
unmute. Let's noodle
Okay.
this out. It says on page 102, but if you are shaky, you're shaky with food. It says you better work. It doesn't say talk about the steps. It says you better work with another addict instead of what? You see, like
That's,
this is real radical stuff. And
yeah.
I want to jump on what you said, because you said, Paige, I can't transmit what I don't have, Nikki. How the hell are you gonna get what you want if you don't sponsor? You see what I mean? This is
Yeah.
really radical. And
It
that's
is a big
why
cycle. I
it's a
like that.
big cycle. And that's why I keep saying, and if you know me, you know, my first question is not, how are you? It's like, are you
Are
sponsoring?
you sponsoring?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, are you sponsoring? People go, Nikki, I have a problem here. This, are you sponsoring, is always my first question, because we just said it. If you're shaky, you better. It says you, that's put Justin B right there. Hey, my friend out there. And then let me tell you the miracle. You know, I always line up a sponsee. I get a lot of calls. Nikki, can you sponsor me? And I said, well, I'm going away for, you know, what is 10 days. When I get back, we'll have the appointments. I already have them lined up. What is she? She's a food addict. What am I
Mm-hmm.
in right now? I'm not in my sex and love addiction. I'm not in my codependency. I'm not even, I'm actually pretty high on life right now in a good way, but the food's loud. God
Mm-hmm.
lined this up for me. So what should I say to her? I have food stuck in my throat from partying last night with my sober friends and, you know, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm going to show her the work, and slowly together, me and this type 3 real food addict, because I'm a type 2 for sufficient reason, page 21,
Mm-hmm.
for sufficient reason. See, I'm a type 3 hardcore sex and love addict, emotion, like I can't let that go. But I have, here we are, page 20. Then we have a certain type of hard. I'm a hard food addict. Nikki may have the habit badly enough to gradually impair her physically. Oh yeah, I've got plantar fasciitis, so bad, meaning itis. Anything with itis, I'm not a medical doctor, but everybody knows arthritis, you know, plantar fasciitis, any of these things. Itis is inflammation of. So I've got inflammation in my heel. I can barely walk. Last night I was dragging my foot like a dead dog, but I was still at the buffet eating. Okay, I'm nuts.
Yeah.
Here it is. It may cause me to die. Oh yeah, heart disease. Remember, Justin, heart disease and stroke, #1 in your country in America and #1 in my country of Canada. If sufficiently strong reason, ill health. Now, Nikki's fingers, I'm only 51, but I might as well be 81. They're might got arthritis. You know, I can stop this. I will be able to, page 87, see where religious people are right. I'll get on a radical water fast like our friend Jesus did in the desert for, I won't do 40 days, Justin. I've done 6 and almost saw the face of God, no food. But I'll do a couple days, you know, fasting and, you know, water and juice and all these kind of different things. And I can stop. You know, I can, it's difficult, but I can stop. With this food addict that I'm taking through who's a type 3. Oh, yeah, together we'll, why, Justin? Because it says right here, I'm shaky. I better work it up. God did for me what I could not do for myself. A promise already lined up. She's waiting for me to call. I got to look at my schedule either today or tomorrow. There you go. See,
Good.
you see what I mean? Does that make sense to you? Because what are you going to do? Just keep doing outreach? You're going to just chair a meeting or go to a meeting and sit in an OA meeting until you're better? How are you going to get better? You
Yeah.
need a day or two of sobriety and then throw yourself. I mean, you tell me what you think about that now.
No, this is a powerful concept, and I think that that as we look at this, I see truth being all all encompassed here. You know, in order to, well, in order to receive, I need to give. In order to give, I've well, I've got to have something, but I don't have to have everything to give. Does that make sense? Okay.
It does. It does. And just let me end here too, because it says on page XVI or on XVI, when right in there, it says, it also indicated, see, we're indicated, we're pointed to this fact that strenuous work, again, you guys, a phone call and just saying, I'm not sober enough to take you through steps. How about, you know what, in 2 days, I'll be detoxed. I'll have a little bit, I'll be less befogged. I know how to carry this message. So why don't we book an appointment in 2 days and I'll get you right into these steps, because I need you more than you need me, Sponsy, because it says that strenuous work, one alcoholic addict, that's Justin, me, and this person who wrote in, with another. We got to work with another. It's vital to permanent. That's what we're looking for. There's the word. We're looking for permanent recovery. And that's the only way you're going to get it, through strenuous work with another addict. You just need to be befogged, less jittery. You don't have to have, there's some programs, Justin, and that's a topic for another day. You have to have a year sober before you can sponsor. Okay, I'm not going to get into F bombs right now. This is a family program. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, Nikki. And I think we've really hit this pretty well. Hopefully, for you, the anonymous person who sent in the email, this was helpful for you. And hopefully, it's helpful for a lot of other people out there. Everybody, as we continue to practice these principles in all our affairs and all aspects of our lives and everything we do, not just in our interactions with other addicts, with ourselves as an addict, or with whatever, as we practice these principles in all our affairs, that power comes in and lifts us to and provides sufficient for what we need that day. Keep coming back. It works when I work it, so work it. You are worth it.